Good morning, LOUMC virtual listeners. We are glad you are by your computer or on your phone, and we welcome you today. I'm Luann Dolly. This is Reed Dolly, and this is my daughter, Amber Craver, and my son-in-law, Matt, and my three granddaughters, Cora, Kana, and Callie. And we are the Dolly Craver family. We were asked to tell you why we chose LOUMC. We moved from Dallas, Texas to West Lynn in September of 2017 and then started attending in January of 18. I will tell you that we first visited because we were always United Methodist, but we decided to make this our church home because from the very beginning we felt welcomed. And then from there, we started getting very involved, and we were welcome to serve on committees and Bible school. And it just made us feel so good to feel needed and to feel appreciated. And then that made us feel great that we were able to serve the Lord here at LOUMC. This day is of being liturgist is a bit bittersweet because we are packing up and moving back to Dallas, Texas. We think around June 8th. But we know as church family that we will always be connected by our Christian love. And we know that you will forever, forever hold a place in all of our hearts.
We will always remember singing in church with Miss Marianne and Miss Elena.
And Brad. Bible school.
And family promise.
Open hearts.
And I always enjoyed seeing my daughter sing at the Christmas Hallelujah, and then also seeing the Christmas story every year.
And putting together Christmas platters.
And then delivering those cookies to the fire station and gas station.
The Christmas
and the church bazaar.
And we also enjoyed the auction where we had an opportunity to stay 3 days in Sun River.
And being asked to share my faith journey at My Best Thoughts.
We also did work groups and dinner parties.
And as you can see, we are so thankful for LOUMC and the place that they have in our hearts and the joy that it filled us with.
So please stay in touch. And whenever you visit in Dallas, Texas, or around that area, you are always welcomed by the Craver and Dolly families.
So we want to thank all of you for your continued faithfulness in giving. And for those of you who are learning how to give online, bless your heart.
Please keep in mind that if you want to help support our community in need, you can give to the Bishop's Fund for Families initiative. If you want to give a donation to the pastor's discretionary fund, that money will be used confidentially to assist persons within our own congregation community whose lives and work have been hit by the hard hit by the coronavirus.
So on this Pentecost Sunday, where we recognize that the wind of the Holy Spirit came and blew in and among all the Christians gathered in an upper room following Jesus' ascension, may that same spirit of love and life infuse and inspire you this day and every day beyond it.
Bow our heads and pray. O great Spirit, whose breath gives us life to the world, and whose voice is heard in the soft breeze, we need your strength and wisdom. Cause us to walk in beauty. Give us eyes to behold the red and purple sunset. Give us eyes ever to behold. Make us wise so that we may understand what you have taught us. Help us learn the lessons that you have hidden in every lead and rock. Make us always ready to come to you with clean hands and steady eyes. So when life fades like a fading sunset, our spirits may come to you without shame. Amen.
And thank you to Wayne for teaching me guitar.
Rock of ages cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from the wounded side which flowed me of sin the double cure. Save from wrath and make me pure. Not the labors of my hands can fulfill the law's demands. Could my zeal no respite know? Could my tears forever flow? All for sin could not atone. Thou must save, and thou alone. Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross I cling. Naked come to thee for dress, helpless look to thee for grace. Foul I to the fountain fly, wash me, Savior, or I die. While I draw this fleeting breath, when mine eyes shall close in death, when I soar to worlds unknown, see thee on thy judgment throne. Rock of ages cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee.
Good morning. I'm joining you this morning from outside the church parsonage. If you'll take a peek in the background, you could see the bench that Steve Blake refinished for me and the trustees brought over. Isn't it gorgeous? And then you could see the lovely flower garden. A lot of you have taken the time to bring flowers to me. Tomoko, not the least of them, I would say. And I know many of you have not had a chance to see the parsonage. This is the home you provide for me. So I wanted you to have an opportunity to see it. As I lead you in our prayer time this morning, I want to thank you so much for the phone calls you've been receiving from me that unfamiliar 423 exchange and letting me pray for you. It has been not the preferred way to do pastoral care, but certainly a way that I have been able to do that and stay in touch with you, and I am so grateful. So continue to answer the phone when I call, because I'm calling simply because I care and because I miss you. When I was a little girl in elementary school, Mrs. Robinson came around to the classes, our elementary classes. Amazing we were allowed to do that at that time. And she taught me a verse that has never left me, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I offer it to you this morning. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. So for all the prayer requests that Pam has put out there before you in the quick news, I lift them up right now and ask that God be with them, at each one of them in their situations. For you, in whatever situation you find yourself or whatever place of need, remember we have that pastor's discretionary fund available to you, or a phone call available from me if you want to chat. All of those things to offer you God's love and grace as I lead you in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Thank you for being with me during prayer time. Remember, don't hesitate to call me if I could pray for you, or if you have a specific need that you simply need to talk to your pastor, and it will remain confidential. God bless you. Thank you.
What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace is mine, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how sweet to walk in this pilgrim way, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how bright the path grows from day to day, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning on the everlasting arms. What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms. I have blessed peace with my Lord so near, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning on the everlasting arms.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. O most holy one, friend to Moses and friend to us, here we are at the door of the promised land. We can almost taste the milk and honey. Moses has sent out our best spies and our bravest souls to scout it all out. What will they find? Men with clusters of grapes, pomegranates, and figs. Oh, joy! Anything but this manna. We'll take it. Fortified cities. How can we compete? Men as tall as giants. What do you take us for, God? Mighty warriors? We're mere grasshoppers to the likes of them. How can we ever face down the giants, God? Egypt is looking better every day. Amen.
The scripture reading today is from Numbers chapter 13, verses 1 through 3, 17 through 21, and 23 through 30. The Lord said to Moses, "Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders." So at the Lord's command, Moses sent them out from the desert of Paran. All of them were leaders of the Israelites.
When Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, "Go up through the Negev and on into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees on it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land." It was the season for the first ripe grapes. So they went up and explored the land from the desert of Zin as far as Rehob towards Lebo Hamath.
That place was called the Valley of Eshcol because the cluster of grapes the Israelites cut off there. At the end of 40 days, they returned from exploring the land. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account: "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is the fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, the Jesuits, and Amorites live in the hill country. And the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan." Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it."
Can you think of the last time that you were scared? That maybe you were actually genuinely paralyzed by that fear? And what was the circumstances that caused that? Was it because of a health scare? Maybe it was some issue around your children or your grandchildren. Maybe it was the threat of a job loss, or maybe it was a suspected affair. May I be so bold to say, for not to say so would be negligent, that to be a black man in America today, and especially this week, should fill any of us with the deepest of fear. And this is true regardless of your political leanings or the circumstances that spawned the event. It's true regardless that racial profiling and excessive force is never okay. It's never okay. I say that as both a Christian and as a United Methodist. Fear is meant to keep us safe. It's neither inherently good nor bad. It's simply a tool that is there to help us to make wise decisions. Ultimately, fear's purpose is to get our attention, to keep us safe both now and in the future. But fear's purpose also is to get our attention so we won't stay stuck or paralyzed by a situation that with some clear thinking we could get through. Friends, what we don't want to be is the deer in the headlights, just stymied and arrested by whatever's at hand. That's what we don't want to be. Fear, at its best, is something that we embrace. It's our teacher. It's our friend. It's not an enemy. It teaches us and informs us rather than controls us. Fear at its best teaches and informs us rather than controls us. Think the brave skier at the top of the Black Diamond at Mount Hood, ready to descend That's overcoming our fear, or that's managing our fear. And isn't that all we want the Israelites to do as they continue to make their trek across the desert? We want them to figure out this fear thing, their fear factor. We want them to feel their fear. We want them to name it. We want them to learn from it. And most of all, we just want them to act on it. Just do something already in the face of your fear. Just do something. As you know from the scripture reading this morning, the fear that the Israelites face now is that there are giants in this land that they're about to occupy. Now, that may seem really far removed to you and me, that there are giants in the land, until we insert our own giants in the story, and then we can better empathize with their anxiety. So whatever your own giant is, whether it's anxiety or depression, whether it's a lack of self-esteem, or whether it's a deep, dark secret that you're keeping that no one knows about. If you look at it that way, you can empathize with why they were afraid to move forward. Have you ever been so close to your dream that you could just touch it? You could touch it, it was that real. Maybe it was a new job or launching a new career. Maybe it was having that forever love that you had dreamed of all your life. And then all of a sudden, the proverbial rug is pulled out from under your feet, and it's just within reaches, your goal, your dream. Well, picture this. The Israelites are literally at the edge of the promised land. They could look in, they could peer over, and they could see it. Their toes are on the finish line after the spies have been out 40 days on a mission of reconnaissance. And the spies bring back, depending on which version of the Egyptian story you read, which version of the Exodus story is present for you. The spies come back giving a good report of fertile land, of a single grape cluster that's so large that it takes 2 men to carry it between a pole like Cleopatra. And to boot, there's figs and pomegranates, enough for us all. That's the good news, or that's the good news. But there's bad news. And the bad news is this, that there are giants living in the land. And with the report of these spies, they take on a kind of mythical fashion. They're semi-human and semi-gods, demi-humans and demigods. And think Goliath. It was from these race of giants that Goliath was descended. And they're inhabiting the land and occupying it. And the Israelites say, the spies say, in the face of them, we're mere grasshoppers. We are. Caleb tried to fight against them, but the larger number of spies got their way. And then with that report, all of a sudden, the people of Israel developed amnesia. They forgot who they were. They forgot what God had already done for them to save them. He had sprung them out of Pharaoh's clutch and out of slavery. He had parted a Red Sea for them and let them cross through on dry ground. He had supplied manna, bread for them from heaven. He had struck the rock and water poured forth. He had sent a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. And they forgot it all. And then paralysis set in. And it was just easier to have a second glass of wine or to eat a whole bowl of ice cream than face your giant. Or to roll over and hit the snooze alarm and just go back to sleep than face whatever giant was on the horizon, yeah? We'll just stay in the safety of the desert, they said, until the giants go away, as if they were going to. Or until they die. What? Stay another 40 years in the wilderness? These people were insufferable. These Israelites were insufferable. No wonder God wanted to give them back. No wonder God said to Moses, give me, I'll kill them all. Give me someone else to love and lead. Harsh, but God had had enough of them. Friends, sometimes it's scary to get what you want, isn't it? Sometimes it's scary to get what you want. You're on the edge of your promised land and you're looking in. I had some teacher friends many years ago who had heard about the golden opportunity to increase their earning potential if they would simply decide to go teach in Alaska. So after a lot of discussion and prayer, my friends Jim and Ruth informed their families what they were going to do. They quit their jobs and they sold most everything they had. They were 3/4 of the way to Alaska when Ruth said, "Oh, I can't do this. I simply can't do this." And Jim recounts the story of trying to talk her off the cliff. "Oh, yes, you can. We have nothing to go back to, darling. We've sold it all. Yes, you can." Ruth was having none of it. So Jim and Ruth turned around and they came back home. Luckily, their jobs were still there for them. But as long as I could remember, having been friends with them, they pined about that wilderness experience that led them right up to the promised land. They were so close they could just look in. All they had to do was throw a stone and they would have been there. Friends, sometimes it's scary to get what you want because life will change. The pressure will be on. People will expect you to do things that you've never done before and maybe twice as better. Are we up for it? Sometimes it's scary to get what we want. I read in a magazine the other day that 46 Hollywood stars had died by suicide by their own hand in just the last 25 years. 46 of them had taken their own lives. When you read their stories, it was daunting. Supposedly, they had everything they could ever want. Getting what you want sometimes comes with a high price. I once served a church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was my first senior pastor experience at that little church after 14 years of being an associate in Atlanta, Georgia. What this little church wanted more than anything, because it was aging, is it simply wanted to grow. It wanted to reach out into its community and its neighborhood and touch those people that were all around them. It was a smart move since I had buried some 16 of them in just the first year I was there. That was more than one a month. So we started walking the neighborhood to see what kind of group of people was in the sphere of our ministry influence. And you know what we found? We found latchkey kids, we found single parents, and we found a lot of lonely older adults. And you know what we did? We just invited them all in. We hired a youth and children's coordinator to watch over the children and the youth. We beefed up our pastoral care program to our older adults and our adult education. And you know what those kids started doing? They started bringing their skateboards to the parking lot of the church. Some of them even started bringing them into the church, and they started using some colorful language. And then eventually they started coming to our potluck suppers, and they would make and bake things at home and contribute to the potluck suppers. And then the next thing you know, one of them, Chris, one of my favorites, wanted to sing in the choir. And then two of them asked me, "Can we be baptized?" They started attending church and making all kinds of noise in the midst of that as well. Finally, our little church was reviving again. It was growing. It had a whole new demographic. It was absolutely exhilarating until you know what happened. It's what happens a lot in that situation. Several people started whining and complaining that these kids, these street kids, these latchkey kids had taken over the church. They had taken over the program. They had drained the church financially because we were doing all kinds of ministries and programs for it. They had stolen the energy out of our church. And then they came to me as the pastor and demanded that I do something. And I did. I did do something. You know what I did? I started preaching more about these kind of people that Jesus ministered to, like the homeless and the prostitutes and the sinners and the tax collectors and the children. That's what I did. And then I invited more of those kind of folk to come into the church. That's what I did about their complaint. Ooh, church. Sometimes it's scary to get what we want, isn't it? In the midst of a pandemic, it's showing us for sure that times they are a-changin'. And it's okay. There are some things that really need to change, folks. There are. Well, you heard and met at the beginning of the story Matt Craver and his family. You know that Matt will tell you that he has a pretty high-rolling job in the finance department of Frito-Lay. He could tell you a lot about facing down giants in the business world and facing down giants with his family when it's time to relocate yet again. When you've made your life and home in this beautiful state of Oregon and this beautiful Lake Oswego United Methodist Church, and when the Lake Oswego United Methodist Church has become an integral part of your life and family, to leave it even with a promotion is a gigantic thing to do. It's a big ask. What I want you to do now is listen to this whole thought that sometimes it's scary to get or keep what we want. Sometimes it's scary to get or keep what we want, in Matt's case, in order to take care of his family. Listen to this extended family talk about their experience, about the excitement of the move, the gigantic obstacles in the midst of their move, and the all-around courage that it takes to just pick up and go. Listen. Hi, guys. It's the Dolly family and the Craver family, and they're joining me today as part of my sermon. We're talking about trekking across the desert, and we know that part of desert trekking involves some fear because you run into all kinds of unknowns. And we know that these Israelites are getting ready to go into the promised land, and they've been told they've been told by the spies there are giants there. Making a move is a pretty giant thing in our lives. It can be both an exciting thing and a scary thing. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, except we need to start with Matt here, because Mr. Competent Matt is the whole reason we're making this move. So Matt, what happened? Are you just too good of a worker that everybody wants you? What happened?
I guess that's maybe part of it, unfortunately. But yeah, I got an opportunity to head back to Dallas with Frito-Lay and go back to our headquarters. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your position with Frito-Lay?
I am a senior director of finance.
A senior director of finance. And did you live in Dallas before, or is this another part of Texas?
We did. We've traveled a little bit. We've been to Southern California and then Dallas, and then we came up here. So this is a return trip back to the Dallas area.
Did you know that you would be going eventually?
I think, yes. I think it's bittersweet for all of us, though, because we've enjoyed it up here.
And you didn't know it would be this soon?
Yeah, we thought it'd probably be more around 3 years, 3.5 years. So it's a little bit sooner than we probably anticipated.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about some of that. So thank you, Matt, for moving your family. We're all sad, but we're glad for you all. But you better stay in touch. We Methodists stay in touch, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so guys, what are you all excited about with the move? Now, Luann and Reed, will you all live with them, or will you live in a different home, or what? Right now, you're with them.
Right. We're looking for a home close to them. There's a retirement community with a golf course and pools and that sort of thing. And it's about 5 to 7 minutes from their house. So I think it'll work out okay if we can find a house. So
if you can find
so we're trying to find a house, looking through the lens of a camera. You know, our realtor takes us through that way, but you know, it'll work out. We'll live with the Cravers until we find a house. So okay.
And for those who don't know it, Amber is Reed and Luann's daughter. And and they're all living together. They've been one big happy family ever since they moved here.
We would tell anyone, if you can get a house that is a multi-generational home, it's been a wonderful experience.
Okay, so what are you excited about the move?
Making new friends and getting a new pool. I'm looking forward to a safe drive and getting to see my cousin, and I'm in Colorado. I am also looking forward to getting a boat. I am also looking forward to seeing my best friend in Texas. I am also looking forward to getting my room set up.
Did you say a boat?
Yeah, we're gonna get a boat, I think.
Oh,
We're gonna
wow.
get
You all are getting a boat too, Luann?
We'll probably have a boat before we have a house.
Oh my gosh, and I know Reed will be water skiing because I've seen him doing that.
I'm very excited to see my best friend Chase. We've kept in touch over these 3 years, and I'm over pen pal and FaceTime and everything. So I'm really, really excited to see her. And luckily, we live like a bike ride away, so I'm excited about that.
So, Cora, are you going to go back to drama and do Matilda kind of things when you get back in Texas?
Yeah, we're hoping. I mean, they don't have, I mean, it's a lot harder to get in those professional theater shows down there because they're more downtown. And then, but it's not with adults, so it's not professional, but it's still theater, so I'm really excited. That's what I grew up on, so yeah.
They just haven't seen you perform. You wait till they see you perform, you'll take the roof off. All of you girls are so talented. Are you going to join another swim team down there like you've joined a swim team here?
Yeah, we're going to join a Metro swim team. And it's a big swim team. There's like 9 different places where they have pools. So it's a really, really big swim team. But we're going to join there, and we're really excited to do that. So
cool. So Amber, are you excited about moving?
You know, this is our 4th, 5th move being as a married couple.
This is my 5th school. This is my 5th.
And it's Callie's 5th school in 5 years. It's Kana's 4th school in 5 years. And I am excited to go home to really good friends, and that is what I'm looking forward to. I'm really sad because I didn't expect to love Oregon and the people that we met as much as we did. And it's been really hard on all of our hearts because we just were welcomed into this amazing swim community, amazing church, amazing dance community, and everybody has just welcomed us with open arms. So it's been tough. This is I think that every move has been hard, but this one's been the hardest because the girls are finally at an age where their friends really matter. So
and they just got in the Christian school, which I know they've loved,
which was phenomenal. It truly blessed our lives.
Yeah, it changed our lives. Like, it was awesome. Like, I mean, just being there for 1.5 years, like, it's changed my faith, I feel like.
Oh, Cora. I can quit my job now that you've said that. I could quit my job. I've done all the job I need to do. How beautiful.
Yeah, it really has, though. I mean, like, I've started to, like, pray all the time, and it's really been meaningful to, like, it's sad. It's really sad.
Oh, will you find a Christian school there?
Probably not. The Christian schools down there are, like, as much as college. So it's really, really expensive. So probably not, but I mean, I'm going to be going to school with my best friend, and I really can't wait about that. So, yeah.
Oh, and you know what, Cora? Yeah.
And I'm going to be changing classes in 4th grade.
Oh, wow, kind of cool. Like a big girl. So, you know, I really appreciate you talking about the faith, Cora. And this is something that all 3 girls of you can take with you. To whom much is given, much is expected. And God has given you that. So it's your responsibility to carry your faith forward. And I know you will. Matt, are you excited about this move? You better be. You better be.
I think I have to be. I have to be the leader of that, I think. No, I'm excited. I think, like Amber said, I think it's bittersweet for sure. You know, I don't think we expected to find and to be accepted as much as we have been up here. And we really like the neighborhood. I'd add that to it. But you know, it's the tough part for me is leaving during summer.
Oh yeah, when it gets beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be going down to 100-degree heat down there.
Absolutely, you will be. And man, I don't miss that a bit. Holy. So, Rita and Luann, anything else to add to it before we talk about some of the giant?
Yeah, the main thing I'm looking forward to is being more centrally located.
Yeah.
Because we're 12 hours now, well, a 12-hour drive from Dallas to Denver to see Adam and Nash, and then a 12-hour drive to Illinois where all our family is.
Yeah.
So just to be able to make that drive instead of having to, plan, the airline tickets and everything. And
so guys, now we're going to talk about what are some of the, and you've probably already said some of it. What are some of the giant obstacles or the sadness or the fears that you might have about moving? And you don't have to create them unless you have them, but if you have them, I'd like to hear it. Yeah. Callie or Kana.
Well, one of my things that I'm sad about is losing my swim team, my dance team, and my friends. But my teacher said once, she said, leave the devil behind you and believe in God. I mean, believe that God will help you through this. So
Absolutely. Cool. Yes, Callie.
I'm fearful of not getting to say goodbye to my good friends here because of the coronavirus. I'm also fearful of getting car sick.
Oh, okay.
I'm also fearful of not being able to make new friends in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say a big fear for us probably, Amber and I, is just the school, like we just talked about, has been fantastic up here. And we're going to a new school. Once again, we don't know what that will be like. So I think that's my biggest fear for the girls, is that they're accepted in that school as much as they were in this one.
Absolutely. Because
I do have to say that this has been our hardest move so far because of all the variables that have gone into it. We've had to do everything over FaceTime. I finally broke down a couple of weeks ago because for some reason the housing market in Texas is going like fireworks. Like they go on the market and they're gone the next day. And so we finally got on a plane and flew down there, and that was really scary. And then having to stay in a hotel, and it would have been fine if we lived in temporary housing for a couple months if it was a normal time. But because it's not normal, we didn't want the girls in a hotel room. We didn't want them, having to live somewhere that we didn't know if it was clean or not. It's not a normal time. So it's made it so much more difficult. But I have to say that every person that we've talked to on the phone that's doing their job still has been so helpful and so kind and so upstanding. And I mean, I truly see the goodness in people also, because even when everything is difficult and not normal, people are making it work.
That's beautiful. And so this crisis brings out the worst in people and the best in people. And I'm glad you've seen the best. That's good.
Well, it's brought the worst and best out in me too. So I've had plenty of ups and downs during this, because everything's just moving so much more quickly than we thought it would.
Yeah, it's just scary. I mean, with the coronavirus, it's just making it a whole nother level harder.
Yeah.
Because number one, you can't see any of your friends. Because I've only gotten to see 3 of my really good friends, but also I have other friends that are just that I will miss too, and I'd like to see them. And
not being able to hug people goodbye, or actually see them face to face to say goodbye, I think that makes it so difficult.
I think a lot of beautiful writing from a lot of people will come out of this. So girls, maybe if you're not keeping a diary, maybe you should consider keeping a diary and just talk about the feelings about the move and the feelings about the virus and what it means to hold a friend and hug a friend and be able to look at them in the eye and say, I love you and I'm going to miss you.
Yeah, I think we took that for granted when we were not in a pandemic,
Cora, I think we all did. I think we all took it for granted.
Yeah, it's really, to say, I miss you, you know. Sometimes it can just come out of your mouth and you don't mean it at all, you know, but sometimes you can mean it and then just forget it.
Yeah.
And right now, when you say I miss you and actually hug them, I mean, that's a memory for like forever, you know? Because I mean, you're in a pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. And you girls are living through something that you'll be able to tell your children about. So then now let me ask you this. What is courageous about this move? You know, a lot of times people get afraid, and when they get afraid, they don't do anything. They just stop, and it's like their feet are glued in place and they won't do anything.
Yeah, I was stressed for a while, and I was just like, buy a house. I don't care what it is. I just care that it's in Lovejoy, you know? I don't care what house it is or what it looks like or anything. I just...
What's courageous about feeling the fear and just doing it anyway?
Well, we're not even supposed to leave the house, and we are going to travel cross country. That is a fear I have.
And that's a very reasonable, logical fear. Yeah.
And it scares me that we're going to Texas, where there are many, many more cases of coronavirus than here.
So where else are you showing courage by just going?
I think we've shown courage as a family. I think it takes a lot of courage to trust one another, to do the right thing when you're in a really high, intense, stressful situation. And we've had some moments, but we've also trusted each other and shown, I don't know, just acceptance and love, even when it's been stressful and everybody's, you know, having to stay around each other the entire time, and you can't really go anywhere if you are frustrated or not, you know, seeing eye to eye on every topic. When you add moving and buying a house and selling a house and everything on top of that, and then keeping the house clean when the kids are here and you can't leave, you know, so, I mean, we've really been courageous in the fact that we've stuck together and handled it pretty well to this point.
You just can't be doubtful. I mean, you always have this group, you know, that's your family.
And I think the courageous part for me is, you know, the girls have been very positive. I mean, there's ups and downs for sure, but they are always, you know, it's tough at their age. It's tough any age to move. And I think all of them have been very courageous with, you know, just keeping a positive attitude.
Well, I think
we have told Matt that we don't ever want to move again.
So yeah, we don't want to move again.
I
am kind of mad at him.
They hopefully bought their forever.
We were mad at him for a week.
Well, guys, it's a big thing. It's an exciting thing. It's a fearful thing, but we know that God always goes with us. We're never alone. And like you said, you're in this together. You're a family. You stick together. You love one another through the thick and through the thin. So thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And the last thing I would ask you is, what would you like to say to all of your church family at Lake Oswego United Methodist Church as you leave?
Thank you.
I think thank you for accepting us, for adopting us as a family in the community, and you know, continue to pray for us in this move.
Yeah, just loving us, and you know, we will miss you all.
We're going to miss you too. You make it easy to love you. And whatever church gets you, are you going to go back to St. Andrews?
We are.
Mom and Dad are, yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
We have another Methodist church that's close to the house, and actually the pastor that's there now baptized Callie when she was born. So we're really, and him and his wife remind me a lot of you and where you're seeing the church going. So we're really excited that we're going to go to a church that loves everyone and accepts everyone, and that is inclusive and kind, like Lake Oswego has been, because we tried a couple different churches up here before we decided to come to LUMC, and we just thought it was a perfect place for the girls so that they could actually get involved in church and be part of the church as well as the adults. And to me, that was the greatest gift the church gave us.
We're going to miss you because you all gave so much to us with all you did in the children's department, with your work, Amber, with the children in leadership, with with your financial leadership and the way you have blessed and given to the church. Luann, with all the different groups that you've been in and served. Reed was the chair of this parsonage committee. He just took that role and doggone it, he's leaving. So we're going to have to recruit somebody else. But we love you all. Your churches that get you are going to be so blessed by you. And you are never going to be far from our hearts, because once a Methodist, always a Methodist, and we are family, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I love you.
Thank you. We'll miss
Thank
you.
you.
Well, wasn't that beautiful? I had a Kleenex box close by the whole time I was doing the interview. You didn't see it, but I dabbed my eyes a lot afterwards. Did you hear what Cora said? That as a result of her Christian faith or Christian school, that her faith and her prayer life had grown so very much. That as a result of that Christian school, her faith and her prayer life had grown so very much. And church, sometimes it's just that simple. That in order to face down our giants, all we need to do is have the faith of a child, a regular and active prayer life, and remembering this fact, that sometimes the only way to overcome the giants in our life and the issues in our life is not to go around them, but to go straight through the middle of them. That sometimes the only way and the best way to overcome the obstacles and the giants and the issues in our life is not to go around them, but is to go straight right through to the middle of them. That's called courage. Like Cora reminded us, in the midst of a pandemic or not, we're not alone. We got our families to go with us. They've got our back. And they'll be with us forever and ever. Amen and amen.
Why should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home, when Jesus is my portion, my constant friend is He, and His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He's watching me. His eyes on that sparrow, and I know He's watching me. And I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. For His eyes on that sparrow, and I know He's watching me. So let not your heart be troubled. His tender word I hear, and resting on His goodness, I lose my doubts and my fears. Though by the path He leadeth, one step I may see his eyes on that sparrow, and I know he's watching me. His eyes on that sparrow, and I know he's watching me. And I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free, for his eyes on that sparrow, and I know he's watching me. And whenever I am tempted, whenever clouds arise, when songs give place to sighing, when hope within me dies, I draw the closer to him. From care he sets me free. His eyes on a sparrow, and I know he watches me. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know he's watching me. And I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free, for his eyes on that sparrow, and I know he's watching me, and I know he's watching me.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.